It's pretty wild to think that just 30 years ago, the future looked incredibly bright. But today, well, it feels a lot more uncertain. In this explainer, we're going to dig into one of the most dramatic political turnarounds in modern history, how we went from the incredible optimism of 1989 to the turmoil we see today. So first, let's rewind the clock. Picture this. It's 1989. The whole world is glued to their TVs, watching the Berlin Wall, this huge, ugly symbol of the Cold War, just crumble. And this wasn't just a German story. No, it really felt like a brand new chapter was starting for the entire world. The feeling in the air was just electric with hope and change. And this quote, man, it just perfectly nails the mood of that moment. You had this political scientist, Francis Fukuyama, who came out with this huge idea he called the end of history. His whole point was, look, the big ideological fights, they're over. Liberal democracy won. And this wasn't some stuffy academic theory, right? This was what millions of people actually felt in their bones. And when you look at the timeline, you can totally see why everyone felt that way. I mean, it was like one domino after another just kept falling. Countries in the old Soviet bloc started embracing democracy. Apartheid ended in South Africa. There were peace deals in Northern Ireland. It really, truly felt like history was on a one-way street, headed straight for freedom.
And here's a crucial point. This was bigger than just politics. It was a belief in the whole shebang, the entire system. There was this incredible, shared confidence that democratic capitalism was the answer, that we'd finally figured it out, and this system was going to pull everyone up and make the world a more stable place.
Okay, so that was then, but now, let's hit the fast forward button about 3 decades. Because wow, the picture today could not be more different. The story took a really sharp and pretty unexpected turn. Let's just take Germany as an example. In 2017, something happened that was, frankly, unthinkable for a long time. For the first time since World War II, a far-right, anti-system party called the Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, actually won seats in the national parliament. This was a massive shock to a country that built its entire modern identity on rejecting exactly that kind of extremism. And this wasn't just a German thing, not by a long shot. It was part of a much bigger pattern that was happening everywhere. I mean, just think about the Brexit vote in the UK or Donald Trump winning the presidency in the US. Both were these huge populist upsets. All across Europe, from Sweden to Italy, the old, reliable mainstream parties were starting to look really shaky. So you see the reversal, right? That sense of unity and confidence from 1989, it's been replaced by a deep feeling of division and insecurity. And that whole end of history idea has given way to this really nervous question. Are we going back to the future, and not in a good way? Are we starting to repeat some of the worst parts of our own history? Which, of course, brings us to the absolute core question. It's the big one. How on earth did we get from the triumph of 1989 to the turmoil we're in today?
Well, to really get it, we can't just skim the daily headlines. We've got to go deeper. We need a way to look for the patterns and the connections. Basically, a framework for making sense of the last 30 years.
And the crazy thing is, the events of 1989 actually give us a tool to do just that. Social scientists have this concept they call a natural experiment. Think about it. The collapse of communism was such a massive shock to the global system that it suddenly created this huge flood of new information, a whole new real-world data set for testing old ideas about politics and economics. So what this approach lets us do is pretty cool. We can use the theories from political science to try and make sense of all the history that's happened. But, and this is just as important, we can use what actually happened in history to check if those theories still hold water. It's a way of keeping the whole analysis grounded in reality. So if we were going to investigate this great reversal, like detectives, there are 4 key clues we'd have to follow. First, you've got the rise of this new globalized economy after the Cold War. Then, the 9/11 attacks, which just shattered all that optimism. Third, the absolutely critical decisions made right after the 2008 financial crash. And finally, you look at how all of that created a new, really powerful kind of politics, one fueled by economic insecurity. So let's be real, that optimistic story that seemed so clear and simple back in 1989, it's definitely over. But here's the kicker. Its collapse didn't just hand us a new script. Instead, it leaves us with this urgent, wide-open question that we are all, right now, a part of answering. What story comes next?